Welcome to the e-learning course for the final exams in English in cooperation with iAsk, and my name is Ágnes Lepold. I'm a teacher at the Jurisich Miklós Secondary Grammar School in Kőszeg. We have prepared this e-learning course for you so you can learn the way you like. I guess more students prefer learning from YouTube than from books, so let's see what we've got here. We are going to practice the topics for the speaking exam, for the final exams. And this year there are no speaking exams in the finals, or at least not many. So I'm going to give you some tips for the written exam as well. So let's get started. In the speaking exams, these are the tasks you can get. Szeretném bemutatni, milyen feladattípusok vannak a szóbeli érettségin angol nyelvből. Középszinten ez az O-level. Légy szíves, jegyezd meg, hogy ha középszintre készülsz, akkor majd az ezzel jelölt mintafeladatokat figyeld különösebb figyelemmel. Tehát ezen a középszinten van először egy beszélgetés, interview, egy szituáció eljátszása, ez a roleplay, vagy situational roleplay, és van egy kép alapján egy témakifejtés, egy önálló témakifejtés. Emelt szinten A-level jelöli, majd aki emelt szintre készül, az ezeket a kidolgozott feladatokat figyelj. Természetesen a középszintet is, hiszen azt is tudni kell, de a feladattípusok egy picit különbözőek. A beszélgetés az elején, az interview, az itt is megvan, azután pedig van egy debate, egy vita, és a végén pedig szintén egy kép alapján témakifejtés. Okay, so let's speak English from now on, and let's see our topic, which is free time and entertainment. In this video, you are going to see some sample exam questions, some model answers, some practice tips for the speaking exam and also for the written exam. Now the topics for O-level are free time activities and hobbies, theatre, cinema, concerts, exhibitions, and so on. Sports, your favorite sport, sports at school, reading, radio, television, videos, and so on. Computers, internet, cultural events. So let's see, these topics are also involved at A-level. Of course, you should be able to talk about them at a higher language ability level. Plus, the importance of free time, the role of art in everyday life, amateur sports, professional sports, dangerous sports, extreme sports, the role and effects of books and reading, the media, the internet. So these are the topics involved. Now let's see what could be asked at the interview at O-level. For example, tell me about the sports you do. Which sports are you interested in? How often do you do exercise? Are there any sports you'd like to try? What do you think of extreme sports? How do you keep fit? How can you classify sports? What activities do you do in PE lessons? Do you enjoy participating in or watching a sport? We are going to demonstrate an interview for you, and my partner is going to be one of my students on it. Okay, so let's talk about the sports you do. What sports do you do? What sports are you interested in?
So because of quarantine, I started riding a bike because I want to do some activities in this time and be healthier. When I went to school, I had tennis practice for a little while, and after that I wanted to start horseback riding, but I didn't have the chance because quarantine started. Before that, when I was little, I did gymnastics and dance as well.
How often do you do sports or do you do exercise?
Now I go for a bike ride every day if the weather allows me to. But when I'm in school, I think I just do some exercise every 2 days in a week.
Right, okay. Are there any sports you'd like to try? So you said you want to do horse riding. Are there any others?
Yes, I really like volleyball. We started to play it in gym class in school, and I started to really like it, but I didn't have the chance to start yet.
Right, okay, all right. And what do you think of extreme sports? Do you like watching them or would you like to try any?
I like watching them, but I'm a little bit afraid of them because I have a fear of heights. So I don't think I would ever try it, but maybe if I have the person for it and a friend, then maybe I would.
Yeah, right, okay, all right. What activities do you do in PE classes, physical education?
We do shot put when it's not raining, and discus throw and long jump.
So some athletics, yeah.
Yes. But when the weather doesn't allow us to go outside, then we do some strength workout and volleyball, gymnastics, and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. Okay, all right. How can you classify sports? What are some types of sports?
Where there are team sports, and sports have different levels. There are low, moderate, and high, according to statistics component and dynamic component.
Oh, right. Can you tell me examples of these low, medium, and high?
For dynamic component, a low sport is billiard or bowling, for example. And for statistics component, for moderate is archery or auto racing.
Right, I see. Okay, how can you explain it, what it means?
Sorry?
How can you explain it, what these components mean?
Well, dynamic component is about how fast you have to do it, and the oxygen level that you use, and your blood pressure, how much it goes up. And statistic component is, I think, how much equipment do you use for it.
I see. Okay, all right. That's something new I didn't know about. Thank you very much for the information. Okay, thank you. Now let's go on to an A-level interview topic. Let's talk about museums. These are some of the questions you could get. Do you think they are important? Why or why not? What is a good museum like? What was the best exhibition you've ever visited? In today's world, we can learn about everything on the internet. In what ways can museums offer more than the web? If I were you, I would say things like this about this topic. Of course, it's an interview, so it's questions and answers, but I'm going to demonstrate it alone. So I think museums are important because they can display objects that are connected to history or any other topic, and we can see them in real life. We can be amazed at them, at their beauty, and we can go around at our own pace. It could be a program for children, for example, and I think most museums have activities as well for children especially, but also for families or for adults as well. I think a good museum should have activities like this. I consider it really important that they need to attract the visitors somehow. A lot of museums and exhibition centers have some interactive facilities, some kind of games or some kind of interesting facilities that visitors can use interactively. For example, once I went to an exhibition about history and there were a lot of historical people displayed in interactive photos. So as you walked along the photos, they started to move and talk to you. I think it was great. I found it really interesting. The best exhibition I've ever visited was actually in Britain. It was about the Titanic. It was a small exhibition, and they displayed objects from the Titanic, and you could try some of them. For example, I could try the Morse code, and you could listen to the messages they sent to other ships. There were some games like following people. There were on your ticket there were names of people that you could follow, and along the exhibition you could find clues to what happened to these people. So it was kind of a competition or a game to explore how these people's lives changed personally on the Titanic, or before, what was the life before and what was their life like after the accident. I think in today's world we can expect a museum to be up to date technologically and have these interfaces and interactive facilities. And I think museums can offer a lot more than just the internet, as I said, because they can offer some activity that people can do while visiting their exhibitions. And another thing is a personal touch. So there are guides, for example, who can answer your questions or help you find things that you want to find and you're especially interested in. Now let's go on with another A-level topic that you could be asked about, and that's books and films. Let's compare them. Which do you prefer, to read the book or to watch a movie, and why? Do you like movie adaptations of books? Why or why not? What are the advantages of reading over watching films? What are the advantages of movies over books? Do you think it's a good idea to watch the movie versions of set readings? Now, in this sort of question, you can compare two things, and I've collected some expressions to do this. Like, they are so different. It's impossible to compare them. There's almost nothing alike in them. It's almost nothing like the other. Something is so much faster than, or you could use another adjective, of course, way bigger than, and so on. And please try to use correct grammar. Of course, it's an important aspect of assessment. So even in the speaking exam, you should be able to use correct grammar, good expressions, and it could get you higher points, of course. Of course, if you need a lot of time to think it over what to say, that will stop your speaking. So try to use structures that you are confident about. But to build this confidence, practice using these structures, and you can write down your sentences, for example, beforehand to practice them, and so on. Some more expressions for comparison are so alike. I can hardly tell them apart. They're pretty similar. They are equally action-packed, for example. Just as more or less like, so for example, the actions in the film are more or less like the ones in the book, and so on. Okay, a bit, a little, slightly, or a touch better. Or not quite as. Not to very much. Very is a verb, so you can use it like the dialogues don't vary much, for example. They are almost as good as something else. Or you can use another adjective. Okay, so try to use expressions that you are confident of, but you must build your confidence by practicing them. Okay, let's go on to the situational role play at the O-level speaking exam. It's going to be about getting tickets. Let's see. You want to take your friend to the cinema. Call the box office on the phone and ask about performances. Reserve 2 tickets for an evening performance. The examiner plays the role of the cashier. Okay, now I've collected some expressions for you to help for telephoning. Hello, this is, and you introduce yourself. Hello, somebody speaking. Hello, can I speak to somebody, please? I'd like to. Can you tell me, or could you tell me? I'd like to ask about. Can I have, could I have, or can I reserve, could I reserve tickets for this or that performance? Yes, that would be fine. Thank you. Hello, how can I help you? One moment, please. Let me just have a look. Is there anything else I can do for you? You're welcome. Thanks for calling. On the left, you can see sentences that you might want to use in this situation. On the right, you can see some expressions that the person at the box office would use. Okay, and we are going to demonstrate this situation with my student, Annette, who is online with us. All right, so let's act out this situational role play when you want to take your friend to the cinema, and I am in the box office, and you must call me on the phone. Okay, so I'll take up the phone. Okay, I'll answer the phone. Hello, Odeon Cinema, how can I help you?
Hello, I called because I want to reserve a ticket for a movie.
All right.
What kind of movies do you have now?
You mean today?
Yes.
Right, okay. There's You and Me, which is a romantic comedy. There's Over the Moon, which is a science fiction film. And also there's Catch, which is an action movie. Which one would you like to reserve for?
I think I would like the romantic comedy because I want to go with my friend, so it would be 2 tickets.
Right, okay. There's a performance at 7 o'clock and at 8:30.
8:30 would be better.
Okay, so 8:30, 2 tickets. Let me have a look. All right, how about row number 6?
That's perfect.
In the middle. Okay, all right. That'll be 3,200 forints, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for your help.
Thank you for calling. See you 15 minutes before the performance.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so let's see some tips how to practice. When you want to practice the situational role play, you could make a dialogue and write it down. You can correct your mistakes or ask someone to correct it. Use a lot of different expressions from the list that I've given you. Read it out aloud. Act it out in different ways with emotions. For example, shyly, if you were in love, or angrily. This will give you some more practice to put yourself in it, so you will feel it much more personal than otherwise. Okay, so in the pictures I can see different games, for example board games, and for example games that you could play in a pub, like darts or bowling. Some of these can be played with friends, like bowling and the board games, and darts as well, but darts could be played alone as well. I think it's much more fun if you play it with friends. I don't usually play darts. I'm not very good at throwing, but I have tried, and I have tried these. And when I was a child, we used to play a lot of board games, and we had some favorites. We had a lot of fun playing these board games, especially at Christmas, for example, or at weekends. Sometimes my friends came around and we played together. I also like playing cards, for example. I've learned to play chess. My father taught me. Or I like playing with the Rubik's Cube. That's an interesting pastime to play games. I think when you play with friends, it's a really good program, and you can socialize, you can get to know new people, and it could be a party, for example, when you go out and play bowling, for example, and have a lot of fun together. And there's a lot of laughing all the time, and it puts you in a good mood when you are with friends playing a game. I think games should be an important part of our lives, and I can just encourage everyone to play as much as they can. There are some very easy games, even ones that you can make at home, or that are so simple that even children can learn how to play. So it's an easy and simple way to spend time at home with the family as well. And these games develop skills that the children can use later as well. For example, Scrabble in the second picture can improve spelling skills or verbal skills as well. And many games develop logic and logical skills. Many of them can develop physical skills. So they have a lot of positive effects on our lives. Actually, I don't know much about video games and online games. I have tried a few. For example, I have tried playing with an Xbox, but I'm not very much into these sort of games. My students often tell me about them, but you know, I'm quite ignorant about them. What I know is that there are all sorts of games, for example, ones that kids can play alone. There are ones that they can play with friends. There are ones that they can play online, and they can play online games against opponents as well. And there are websites where they can communicate and where they can keep record of their points. And now there's e-sport, which a lot of young people like, but I haven't tried it really. So please as I'm so ignorant about online sports, I didn't know, for example, that you can't pause them. So I just looked, what? So here's a new challenge for you. Teach the teacher. I'm sure there are a lot of things that you know about online games, video games, these things that I don't know. So teach me. Let me learn about online games. And another thing, I have noticed that young people learn a lot of words, expressions from films, for example, and from games as well. So if you have learned something online or from movies that dictionaries don't have, so let me know. And I would like to learn from you. You can teach me things by sending me a message to the Bridging the Gap Facebook site, for example, where you can also find the meme challenges. This is one of the memes that my students made. And there you can join the Teach the Teacher challenges. You can also find links on this Facebook page and some practice tips how to prepare for the speaking exams and the written exams. So look for Bridging the Gap Lepold Ágnes. That's how you can find this page. And now let's go on to the A-level part of the exam, to the debate. First of all, I'd like to give you some tips how to practice. When you have chosen a statement that you want to debate about, then you can collect ideas on both sides of the argument and write them down. In some earlier videos, I have shown you examples of that. Study the list of expressions for the debate. In an earlier video, I have given you a lot of expressions. Try to memorize them. And when you practice, try to use them, of course. You can practice debating on your own or with a partner. Use the expressions and your list of arguments. And you can record your debate and then listen and improve it. You can record what you want to say also on Flipgrid, which I have shown you in a previous video, and you can find the links to these debate options on the Facebook page as well. So today's debate, in today's debate, I'd like to remind you of two more important things. Insist on your truth. So at the beginning of the debate, you must choose whether you are for or against it. Okay? Maybe you have mixed feelings about this statement, but even so, you must choose your side and insist on that side. Okay? So don't change sides. You must decide whether you are for, which means you agree with it, or you are against the statement, which means that you disagree with it. And you must be polite, of course. So use polite expressions when you express your opinion. And this is today's debate. We should turn off our television completely. And we are going to demonstrate this task with my colleague, Claire, who is from America, and we are going to discuss this statement. Let's discuss this topic. We should turn off our televisions completely. What do you think?
I disagree. I know that television can be a way for people to waste their time, or we talk about zoning out in front of the tube sometimes. Yeah. But I think abandoning it completely would ruin the opportunity that we have to use it for good, and it can be used for good.
Yes, well, I see what you mean. It can be used for good, but I think it's a little bit outdated, isn't it, in many ways? I mean, when you can watch everything on the internet, why would you need a television at all?
Well, I can see your point. There's a lot of content available on the internet. However, I think that for things to be as current as possible. We should not have to wait for them to be available on the internet. I also think that in some cases, people are in poorer circumstances, and it can be cheaper for them to own a television rather than to consistently connect to the internet and then also have to pay for the streaming services that they need.
Yeah, that's true, but I can only partly agree with you, because sometimes the news are on the internet faster or sooner than on television. So I think if you want to get updated on the news, for example, or the latest issues, then the internet is perfectly enough. And also there are lots of free services. For example, Hungarian television has its channels on the internet, and you can watch their programs on the internet as well for free. You don't have to pay for an account. So don't you think that's convenient enough?
Mm-hmm. I think that having multiple options, though, expands the diversity of the technology available to us. I think having the internet is a wonderful thing. I use it often, but I do believe that the more opportunities we have, the better. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I also think that if you consider, there are some programs that are available only on television. I'm thinking particularly of local television channels, public access channels for educational television in particular. I was one who grew up mostly unsupervised. My parents worked and I was home alone with my brother, but we had the access to educational programming on television, and it was very beneficial. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, I can see that. However, I can see very good examples of families who don't have television. For example, my sister's family, they don't have a television, and the children are just as happy without it as they would be if they had, because there are games that they can play together, they read books, or they go outside in the garden and play there, do sports, things like this. And the parents read stories for them, for example. And actually I don't watch television either. I do have a set, but I don't watch it because I can watch everything on the internet. So I'm satisfied with that. And I can sorry?
I'm sorry, please finish your thought.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that on the internet I can choose what to watch, and I can choose to stop an advertisement when it pops up. While on television, every film is sometimes paused because of the commercials, and you've got to watch those commercials. That's very annoying for me. So what did you want to say?
I can understand that. I also find advertisements annoying. But the internet comes with its own set of risks. There's the potential for information theft, as well as computer viruses that can infect your machines with pop-ups and ads and things as well. So we don't totally avoid advertising by using the computer and the internet.
Yeah, that's obviously true. Yeah, you can't avoid that. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Would you like to add anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right. Okay, now let's go on to the last part of the A-level exam, which is a picture-based talk. Let's look at some pictures of dancing. Compare and contrast them. And when talking about these pictures, you could concentrate on some of the questions that I've listed here. For example, different forms of dancing. What are some different forms of dancing that you know, that you have heard of, that you have tried? Which have you tried and how did you like it? What are some cultural values in dancing? For example, you could refer to traditions. The benefits of dancing. Oh yes, I like to move it, move it. So, let's go on, and I'd like to demonstrate this task for you. Okay, these pictures show different styles of dancing. For example, ballet, disco, ballroom dancing and folk dancing. And of course there are lots of other types of dancing. And I must say that I really like dancing. I have tried many kinds, but I've never learned dancing to become a professional or anything. Of course, I have tried disco. Probably that was the first type of dancing that I tried when I was a pupil at primary school and secondary school. We really enjoyed these parties. Later on, as a university student, we also went to discos and had a great time partying. What I didn't like about being at a disco is that there's not much chance to talk to each other. So if you want to talk, you must go outside or find another place, because they are so noisy, so loud. I have tried folk dancing as well. Not a lot, but I have been to events where these dances were taught and I could try them. And I must say I really enjoy watching folk dancing. I think there's so much energy in Hungarian folk dancing. They are also connected to our national traditions, and Hungarian folk dances are so varied. Every region has its own dances, and there are a lot of variations in the number of the participants, for example, or in other forms. And the costumes also are so beautiful and varied that I just love looking at Hungarian folk dancers. Also, I have tried ballet just as an exercise. Actually, it's very hard and demanding, but it's a great way to exercise. And I like watching ballet performances as well. Unfortunately, I don't have much chance to see ballet performances, but sometimes when I go to a theater in Budapest or the opera house or some other performances, I can watch some ballet dancing as well. I really admire the graceful moves that ballet dancers have, and when you see them, it's difficult to imagine how much hard work and physical work there is behind these performances. And how about ballroom dancing? Well, I never learned ballroom dancing, but if I have a partner who can dance, then it's not a problem. I always say that it's the man who should lead the dance, so if he leads well, then the woman can follow. I think dancing has a lot of positive effects. For example, you can socialize. Also, dancing has a lot of movements in it which express your emotions, so you can feel free and you can get rid of some energy, and you can do it in a positive way which builds connections between you and your partners or your group of friends or the people who you are with. I think it's really important that most of these dances have long traditions. Ballet dancing, for example, or ballroom dancing are all connected to some traditions of people or some countries, and they express a lot of emotions. I think it's really important in today's world that we should be able to deal with our emotions, and I think dancing is one of the best ways to do that. Also, dancing has a lot of positive effects physically, because you need to be fit to be able to dance for a long time in a party, for example, if you want to participate. Also, there are easier ones, so even people who are not so fit can do, and there are more intensive types of dancing that the very fit can do for a long time as well. But anyway, it's an enjoyable way to keep fit as well. I myself practice dancing a few times a week, and I find it really, really nice, and I do it with friends, so it also builds our friendship and our connections. Okay, and now let's see, after these sample tasks, how to prepare for the exam. You can go online, and on this website you can find everything collected with some help, how to practice more, how to practice with others, also for the speaking exam and the writing exam. So you can practice both. You can find links that will help you. You can find sample tasks, and you have the chance to practice all sorts of tasks for the written exam and the speaking exam as well. Thank you very much for your attention, and I keep my fingers crossed for you in the exams.